What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Duck, and I'm about to react to when criminals arrested years ago come back to say thank you. Heartwarming encounters. Some wholesome video right here. Y'all ready? Y'all ready for this? You hear noise? It's okay. She likes to make noise when she's doing things in the restroom.
I love you, and I know it ain't over, buddy.
Ain't never over.
I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for y'all.
I just started robbing houses because I knew all the drug dealers because that's who I was.
This former drug dealer spent 6 years in prison and now thanks the officer who arrested him.
You didn't judge me, you did your job.
It started when 19-year-old Keenan Williams began using and selling drugs in Dallas before becoming a notorious gang leader. He got arrested over 45 times, but a single arrest in his 30s changed his life after he robbed a drug house where he was.
Why? Why is that a thing? 45 times? How is that possible, bro? How is that? Spend 6 years in prison, that's it, bruh. We need to bring back the 3-strike rule, bro. What the fuck is that? What kind of shit is that? 45 times. That's what we could. We starting off with 45 times. Took him 45 times to realize, okay, I need to stop doing this. I'm gonna get my life together. Oh, hell no. Get your ass beat that many times. Times 20.
But a single arrest in his 30s changed his life after he robbed a drug house where he was shot 5 times.
I just started robbing houses because I knew all the drug dealers because that's who I was. That's how I ended up getting shot so many times, you know, being an idiot.
Keenan's arrest was planned in 1993 by a Dallas detective named Alan.
And he had to get shot a bunch of times for it.
That would change Keenan's life forever.
To me and asked for 24 hours to basically say goodbye to his family. Basically instructed the police officers in Grand Prairie to leave alone for 24 hours, and they did.
Judge me, you did your job. You were not a bad police officer trying to arrest me because I was a black man. The way you conveyed it, for that moment, I accepted the responsibility of that crime. Man, that sealed the deal for me. I knew right then that I knew my life was about to change. I'm about to go to prison for a long time. But at least going to prison, I'm not going to be doing anymore. I don't have to worry about hurting people anymore. I don't have to worry about people shooting me anymore.
After spending 24 hours with his family, Keenan turned himself in and was arrested and sentenced to 6 years in prison, where he read more than 200 books, got his high school diploma, and pursued a college degree. Years after his release from prison, he became a successful businessman, finance specialist, married father, and motivational speaker in schools and prisons. And 30 years after his arrest, he reached out to Detective Allen to thank him for being part of his redemption story.
I knew in that moment I made a difference in a way that I couldn't even imagine. My career was a success because I had something to do with this man making a change in the way he lived life.
Regardless of what a man is going through, you can never determine where he ends up.
Williams committed to sharing his story wherever he went, but after spending 20 years in prison, this man not only thanked his arresting officer, but also became a police officer himself.
I love you.
Oh, you could,
It ain't over, buddy. It's just the beginning.
This man named Corey Alwood spent his early 20s as a raging alcoholic on the streets of Indiana until he had too many run-ins with the law.
Started drinking more, just kind of let myself get out of control.
And that was how he met this Indiana police officer named Brad Durham.
A lot of the stuff that he did was just bad decisions, but it got him in enough trouble, and he did enough of it that it took him to prison.
Officer Brad Durham eventually arrested Corey for multiple offenses, leading to a sentencing of 20 years in prison and 12 of them in solitary confinement. And that length of solitude led Corey to think about his life.
How can I make amends? How can I get other people to see what I've been through and not make them go through the same experience? That 1 second of one day can change your life. When I see one of my friends set himself on fire and kill himself because he could not do not one more day in there, is this going to be my life? Do I want to be him?
Corey's life changed from that moment, and upon his release, he immediately reached out to the officer who arrested him.
I get this phone call. He says, "Hey, bro, this is Corey." And I'm like,
As guys like who drove that police car and took me to jail.
Why did he blur out the names?
And made a difference and saw that.
he tells me, hey, all those things that you were giving me advice when I was on the outside before I got arrested, I thought about that while I was in prison. And he says, I want to be a cop.
And Officer Brad's words of advice led Corey to eventually become a police officer.
I rose my hand and took the oath to uphold and defend the Constitution and laws of Indiana as a sworn police officer.
I was going through my
That's
shirts
pretty
and I
sick,
found
actually.
a shirt, and I happened to know that I was wearing that shirt the day that I arrested him. And I thought, you know, this is a good reminder, because of all the shirts, that one is going to mean the most to him. He never wants to stop where he's at.
I want to be the cop that pulls up and I understand instantly when I get there what you're going through or what the different perspectives can be.
And interestingly, Corey's mission of
That's true.
saving someone came through, because on his third day as a police officer, he managed to
Third
talk
day,
a man
woo.
off a bridge.
I watched the guy throw his backpack and jump up on the bridge, where it's 200 feet below is 4 lanes of semis going 70 miles an hour.
Was able to save the man's life, just like had saved him before.
And I love you, and I know.
That's pretty, yo. I got the chills, bro. That's pretty sick.
Beginning for you.
Officer Brad's kindness led Officer Corey to become a lifesaver himself. However, this woman chose to thank the officer who saved her by doing something special for him every single year.
It's joyful knowing that she's staying strong, staying sober.
If you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe. It started on December 5th, 2015, when an Ohio State trooper, Brett Lee, arrested a woman named Kimberly Slavens for driving under the influence.
It was just, you know, normal.
I know that was my second OVI, but that wasn't my second time driving under the influence. It was just the second time I had been caught.
Kimberly was arrested by
Damn,
Sergeant
man.
Brett, and spending the night in her holding cell did something significant, because upon her release, she signed herself into a rehab facility and admitted to her mother and her son that she was an alcoholic and needed help. And from that moment, on every December
all it
5th
takes
after
is
that, she would
admitting it.
send a thank you card to Sergeant Brett.
Had you not arrested me that night, I would have continued on the path I was on and would more than likely not be here today. I can't believe that today is 10 years. Able to see the promises they talked about in recovery. Thank you for all your continued support.
Did you ever think that arrest, that ticket that you wrote, would turn into a card the next year?
No, I didn't. It's never happened before. Can't think of any other time that I've heard other troopers getting a card for an OVI arrest. It's joyful knowing that she's staying strong, staying sober, living a great life.
That's nice.
It makes me proud to do what I do.
And to celebrate Kimberly's 10 years of sobriety, Sergeant Brett organized his entire police force to award Kimberly with a Distinguished Service Medallion for her courageous journey.
My honor and privilege.
That's pretty sick.
Present you with this Distinguished Service Medallion.
Getting that award is in the top 5 moments of my entire life. When I've
Definitely.
been struggling and just been like, dude, I don't know if I can do this. And he's like, you can, like, you got this.
And Sergeant Brett also gave her a display license plate
Oh, that's
marking
sick.
her 10-year anniversary.
Display at the house, you can't put that
I can't put that on the card. That's awesome.
Sergeant Brett was just doing his job, but managed to help transform someone else's life. However, these reformed former inmates decided to thank officers by washing their cars.
It means a heck of a lot more than any commendation that I've ever received.
On July 30th, 2017, a nonprofit Christian organization named Charm, dedicated to transforming lives of former inmates, held an event where 40 incarcerated people washed cars of police officers for free.
We've always made
Nice.
things dirty in life, well, whether with family, with relationships, because we were outside of Christ. And so as a sign of being clean and washed and made new, that's what we're doing on display today, is actually cleaning up what's dirty.
Knew it wasn't their fault. They had a job to do, they had a family like I had. And so the Lord just really softened my heart towards law enforcement and that they put their lives on the line each and every day for us.
It's a service they wanted to provide to us in a way of thanking us for what we do on a daily basis. It means a heck of a lot more than any commendation that I've ever received.
You know, had it not been for the police officers arresting us and doing their job, a lot of us wouldn't probably be here today. We'd probably be in a graveyard or in prison for the rest of our lives, who knows? So thank you for your service.
However, after this notorious jewel thief was released from prison, he decided to work with the police to help young people who were just like him.
You know, it's very humbling and very, I'm so honored to be working with these guys. And it took a lot, you know, like.
In 1996, New York police arrested one of America's most notorious jewel thieves, named Larry Lawton, who had stolen over $15 million worth of jewelry during his operations. He was sentenced to 11 years in prison, where he made a fascinating discovery of what he needed to do with his life.
Well, I think everybody has to hit a bottom.
Definitely.
I hit my bottom in prison, of course. Everybody has a different bottom. And then when you find people who work with you, like Police Chief and the Lake St. Louis Police Department, that's where the turnaround really comes.
Once out of prison, Larry founded the Reality Check program, which aims to show at-risk youths the consequences of a criminal life using his experience as a criminal. Judges and police departments around the U.S. supported his program, and in 2013, he was made an honorary police officer by the Lake St. Louis, Missouri Police Department.
That's pretty sick. Okay.
We hooked up with and we became aware of his program. I went down to Florida and vetted that program. You know, we see far too many youth, young people who enter the system and just get caught in a revolving wheel and never get out of the system.
True.
The program offers an alternative to that and maybe a way for us to keep some young people out of jail.
And also, is it because, as a career police officer, so, you know, people would say you're conditioned to think like a cop, the ability in a former life and kind of thinks like a criminal. Is that an asset to you?
Well, I think so. He has an amount of credibility that he brings to his program and that he brings to young people that we as police officers just don't have. I mean, when he says this is the way it is, people kind of have to listen to that.
They do. They got to take it as the word of gospel. So
Larry would become the first ex-con to ever become an honorary police officer, despite his troubled past.
For you, again, being recognized for this collaboration on the floor of Congress, as well as getting the honorary officer title, that's got to be tremendous, mean a lot to you.
You know, it's very humbling and very, I'm so honored to be working with these guys. And it took a lot. You know, like you said beforehand, people come up to me and say, do you really want to work with the police when they hear the negative? I'm trying to bring out the positive, because there's a lot of positive in law enforcement.
A lot.
I think if the community sees that an ex-con and the police can work together, I think this can really grow, and let's show Congress that we can work together. I mean, that's how big it can get, and I really believe
Got
that.
blacklist for that
But
too.
when this young teenager had no male figure to get advice from, he would ask the officer who arrested him to be his mentor.
Not once. To this day, he still builds my worth and self-esteem. With him in my corner, I can do anything.
In January of 2013, 17-year-old high school graduate Ramel Pithamber was struggling with the death of his father when he robbed the Little Caesars restaurant at gunpoint and was arrested.
I was lost and had a lot to prove. I felt like to prove it, I had to be tough. I was a follower, and one poor decision led to the next.
I didn't believe it. I just started crying immediately.
Yeah, it's about right. I understand.
Because my son robbing someone, that just wasn't his character.
Ramel was sentenced to 11 years in an Indiana prison.
Yeah,
but
you
he was
lose
released
somebody.
early for good behavior. And
Do
on one
things
day, while working at a Goodwill
you ain't
donation
supposed to be
store,
doing.
Ramel watched as the officer who arrested him walked into the store with a donation. And at that point, Ramel asked him to be his mentor.
It's a lot I'm trying to learn and unlearn. I need a mentor who can get me to where I want to be, who can teach me what I need to know, and he answered all that.
Was the fact that he was a police officer a plus?
Yes. My goal was to not go back to prison, but I didn't 100% know what to do to not go back to prison. And I knew that he knew that.
Like, he's the expert in what to do not to go back
He's
to
a
prison.
police officer. He knows everything.
You know, it's just like, hey, it's me. How you doing?
I mean, you greeted him like a long-lost friend.
Yeah.
What did you think when he asked you to be a mentor?
So that's never happened to me. I said, look, you know, I'm happy to do it, but there's going to be some rules. You know, we talked about we're going to touch base every month. We're going to go out for lunch. We're going to have conversation. Accountability is such a huge part of that.
True.
I told you about those nights.
Coming back out of prison and finding employment. We talked about that. How does he encounter the questions that he might get about his background? When do you volunteer some of that stuff? When do you hold back on some of that?
And what did he teach you about that?
The first thing that stuck in my mind was that if I view myself as less than, I can't be mad at you to treat me how I treat myself. I'm not ex-convict, I'm not just black, I'm not just Pakistani.
The deputy police chief named Brian Nugent agreed to be Ramail's mentor and, in a short time, changed his entire view on police officers.
What did you think about cops growing up? What were you taught?
Never to talk to them, never to trust them.
It's all.
Arrest you. That's what people told me. After interacting
That's
with
what happens when you're a follower.
the case.
I hope that people can see with everything that's going on is all it takes is respect on both sides. There's more good kids out there than bad. It's more good police out there than bad.
I think the change
Way
that I see
more.
most in him is his confidence. There's no better reward in this job than helping somebody succeed and achieve those goals in their lives.
You don't blame him? You weren't angry at him?
Never, never. He treated me with compassion and understanding. He never treated me less than, not once. To this day, he still builds my worth and self-esteem. With him in my corner, I can do anything.
Ramail found a support system in Deputy Brian, like this recovering drug addict found a support system in the cop who arrested her. In 2009, a Long Beach, California resident named Tiffany Hall
Tiffany
was
Hall.
battling substance abuse and run-ins with police. Eventually, a lieutenant named Jim Foster would meet her regularly and urge her to find a
Jimmy.
better path.
He has this compassion that's deep down inside of him that he cares. And he showed that to me. And he would encourage me all the time. You can do better than this. Why don't you try to go to school? Why don't you stop? And I would listen to him.
It's interesting they blur
and I
off
would pay
her
attention to
name.
what he was saying, but the substance abuse had more power over me than what he was saying. But what he was saying was to me was right. So in 2009, when I got arrested the last time, I was in that cell and I thought about everything Lieutenant used to say to me. And I made a decision right then and there and I surrendered. And when I surrendered, I didn't look back. I kept moving forward. I am a college graduate with 2 degrees. I graduate
Nice.
next month on the 18th with a bachelor's degree.
Nice.
I'm moving forward to going to the master's program to become a social worker. I became a product of my environment. Infestation, a lot of use. And I became that, what I was surrounded around. But then, somewhere, somehow, Lieutenant became a part of my life. And for some reason, he would always take me to jail. Always. And I would always try to talk myself up out that back seat. But it wasn't talking myself up out that back seat. Once I see we was going over that bridge, I would let loose on fire. And he would never get angry. He would just laugh. He would just laugh. I couldn't understand why he would laugh, but he would just laugh. And one time it was my birthday. And he came around the corner. I seen him go by the first time. See, Lieutenant, he's not gonna stop you as soon as he sees you. He's gonna go around a corner, he's gonna look at his screen, he's gonna come back because he's gonna be ready. It ain't nothing you're gonna be able to say. And he came back, and I was standing out there, you know, and he got out the car, and he was doing his little dance, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. And he said, and tomorrow I'll be back to get you. And the next day, he was right there to get me.
Now, almost a decade after her run-ins with Lieutenant Jim and quitting drugs, Tiffany was back to invite Lieutenant Foster
Yo,
for her college
consistency is key,
graduation,
bro.
hoping he would be there.
I want to do this to you. And I hope that you come and be there and celebrate that with me.
I'd love to be there.
Okay.
This is an announcement for her graduation. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
She also made a portrait of Lieutenant Foster to remind herself of her journey so far. And this recovering drug addict decided to work with and help others struggling with drug addiction after being saved by a cop.
But I just want you to know that you saved my life.
On April 27th, 2016, a man named Josh Hamilton was
What the
arrested by an
fuck?
Arizona police officer named Ben Caro for abusing methamphetamine.
I knew
His face is like weird versus now, you know what I'm saying?
the addiction got the best of me and I just didn't care anymore.
For me, I was just another police officer doing what
I think on any given day, any police officer would have done for this gentleman. Treated him with, respect, and, you had to arrest him that day. That's what had to happen.
Incidentally, Josh had been arrested almost 20 times at that point, but that arrest was special because 4 years later, he was registered as a recovering drug addict and worked at a drug rehabilitation center helping others on their recovery journey.
Because of him, I went to prison, and I'm grateful for it. Most people would be upset about it, but I'm super, super grateful for it. And I think because of him and because of the people that I've met along my way, I'm sitting where I'm at. They're all a part of my success story, and I'll forever be grateful for them.
And now that he was clean, Josh had a chance to thank the officer who arrested him.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. So I know that every single day, it may seem like a regular job to you, but I just want you to know that you saved my life. I might have been really mean to you that day. I probably was really rude to you that day, and that's not who I am, and I just want you to know that I'm very, very sorry, but I'm also very grateful for you and what you do.
I speak for the volumes of officers and detectives and civilians that work for this department that know that there are so many stories like yours that are out here. And the special part to your story is that you've now become a huge positive influence on people around you.
I've wanted to thank you so much for what you did that day, and today I get my chance, so thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
But the next criminal was sentenced to 65 years in prison, but somehow was released much earlier and became a motivational speaker and author.
I think y'all saved my life that day for a reason, and I get to be an example of someone that got it right.
In 1995, a 20-year-old named Damon West played as a Division I starting quarterback at college. But after a career-ending injury, he turned to hardcore drugs and a serious life of crime in Dallas, which led to his arrest and a 65-year prison sentence when he was 34 years old. But during that time, West began massively transforming his behavior and helping others, leading to his sudden release after only 7 years in prison. Thankful for the release, he rebuilt his life as a college professor, keynote speaker, and best-selling author. And in 2023, 14 years after his arrest, West arrived at the Dallas Police Department to thank the officers who helped change his life.
That man changed his life, or all of them.
Wow. Look, I was y'all. I was a cocky, arrogant criminal. I don't expect everybody to be receptive to me today. That's not part of the equation. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for y'all. And I've been wanting this opportunity to thank y'all for a long time. I think y'all saved my life that day for a reason, and I get to be an example of someone that got it right.
How he was doing this, and he's changed for the better, and now he's doing this. That gives you the feeling on the inside that you do matter. You do make a difference.
West donated $10,000 to the Dallas SWAT team and also shared his books with them.
Dude, that'll be incredible, man, to be on the DPD podcast.
And giving him maybe the biggest badge of honor.
Oh, that's Dallas too. That's Texas.
Oh, wow, man.
The SWAT team patch.
Dude.
From one of the men who did save his life that day.
Thank you so much, man. Oh, man.
Yo, that's sick.
That's incredible. That is...
Yo, 7 years and changed his life.
You don't see yourself as a hero, but you are heroes, man.
If you like this video, YouTube thinks you'll enjoy these too.
All cops are heroes. All cops are heroes, bro. Except for the villains, but they all cool. They all cool, bro. Just, bro, that's cool. This was a good video. This was a really good video, bro. Damn, it's just that was crazy though. Seeing that 45 times, it's like 45 times, man. Sheesh. Now this is why they go back to yo, especially for them drug abusers. Sheesh, yo. Because you have to, I guess you got to get arrested multiple times to get that shit embedded in your brain that, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. You need to change your life. Go do something that's productive, be a good person to you and your family, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, this was some wholesome video. Whew. Hope you guys enjoyed it just like I did, smiled like I did, and it's been your boy Duck. I'm out. Peace.